What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Tell Mom podcast. This is episode 63.
Holy moly. I don't even know how you keep up with it. We've done so many.
Well, when I edit, it's just like ingrained in my files to like just add a number to the next
Better you
episode.
than me, man. Better you than me. I love it.
So
Hey,
you guys
welcome
are
back.
60 episodes. When did you guys start?
Last year.
Over a year
ago. Yeah, we did.
When did we do the 1 year?
We do one a week, and
I think it was like
You
May.
never missed a week?
April?
You never missed a week?
missed a week.
I had a baby.
She had a baby, and I took the freaking podcast to the hospital bed.
If y'all are wondering who the hell that is,
This
let me
is,
introduce you.
yes.
Yeah, this is Cullen.
Clintus McGintus.
Clintus.
Sorry, I just jumped right in.
I was like,
We've been talking for like 15 minutes.
I
We just like
know,
kept
right?
the conversation going.
we're like, let's
Yes.
go ahead and record this for the podcast.
just
Hey,
hit
hey,
record,
everybody. Yeah, you're welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, so if y'all are new here, we're the brother and sister duo of the Don't Tell Mom podcast, where anything and everything goes. We've got a very special guest that I have a lot in common with, and a lot that we can dive into or riff about, if you will.
Yeah.
But Clintus, what's up, man? You've been doing this internet thing for over 10 years, is that right?
You see the gray hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all are twinning. I love it.
My YouTube channel just turned 13 years old
Oh.
this last month.
Wow.
And so like even though I created the channel, I didn't start actually creating content later in the year, maybe even possibly the possible next year. But yeah, I mean over a decade, YouTube, live streaming. Didn't podcasting for about a year. That's what I was asking when you guys started, because you guys are like 60 something episodes. I'm just now in my 30s, but that's because I missed a lot from traveling and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That is cool. So me and Clintus go way back.
Yeah, I was going to
Jesus.
ask. I don't even know how y'all know each other. I mean,
Oh,
who
shit.
knows how you meet anybody, Cullen? You can meet people
How
anywhere,
did
but-
we? Like, I guess Twitter was.
Yeah, so Twitter and YouTube, obviously YouTube being the
Right.
core, like the thing that we had in common, but Twitter was where we first started interacting. And the first time we actually met face to face was Vlogger Fair in Seattle.
Oh, is it Vlogger Fair? I
Vlogger
just
Fair was
remember.
the first.
We've been to several conventions together, I feel like.
Yeah, since then we've been playlists and VidCon, and we had the hotel parties and
Vlogger Fair.
That's
yeah, Vlogger
crazy.
Fair was actually the first time we met though.
That's
Do y'all still
right.
do y'all? I know you don't really as much. Do you still do these conventions and stuff? I know. You know,
I don't
you
do the
kinda get sick of
YouTube
it.
ones.
No.
I don't do the YouTube ones. I do a lot of the Twitch and live streaming. I go to PAX, which is it started as a tabletop conference, and it moved into the digital and video game world.
Okay.
They have 3 or 4 of those a year, and so like there's one in Texas that I go to every year. It's in San Antonio, and that's just because it's centrally located, so everybody can go to that.
Okay.
Then there's one in Boston, and they just had one this last weekend in Seattle, and that's the biggest one. That one's awesome, but it's always Labor Day weekend, so it's always like camping
yeah.
or
It's really hard.
but, yeah, and then there's one in Florida every year called Guardian Con. In fact, they just renamed it this year, so next year it'll be called the Gaming Community Expo. But they raise money for St. Jude, and collectively over the last 4 years, they've raised over $4 million
Wow.
for St. Jude. And so the community gets together and they do live stream charity events. They'll do charity work throughout the year under the Guardian Con umbrella and raise money to St. Jude. In fact, I was actually chosen to go to St. Jude this year in Tennessee, and I'll tell you what, that's a life-changing experience.
Really?
If you don't know what's the St. Jude organization is, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, they do cancer research, but that's expanded into more than just cancer. They do all medical research for children.
Uh-huh.
And if your child is diagnosed with with cancer, life-threatening or not, just a form of cancer, St. Jude covers entire 100%. You don't pay anything for medical,
That's
for
huge.
housing. It's amazing. So raising money for that is like a big deal, especially we all have kids here. Like, I mean,
Right,
I
yeah.
can't imagine the stories I've heard and the videos
know.
you watch, like Goosebumps. And so
I
I got
know.
a chance to tour the hospital and actually see the money in action and the things that they do for the kids. It was just absolutely amazing. But I'm sorry, on a tangent, but that's the context.
No,
I
that's
go
awesome.
to
You
every
gotta
year.
love doing something that you love for a good cause. I mean, I remember you gave me chill bumps just now because I remember when my dad was going through his chemotherapy, he'd come home and he'd be so depressed, and I'd be like, Dad, it's okay, and I'm just thinking it's because of him, and he's like, I'm not sad for me, I'm sad for the 10-year-old sitting next to me that doesn't have all these memories for those hours that you're sitting there getting this treatment. Dad could sit there and think about us growing up and all the memories he's had with us, and he's like, what does this 8-year-old have to think of it?
Yeah.
You don't have all those memories, and that's why he would be so sad, So it's definitely an awesome cause, and I love that.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
so Guardian Con's in Orlando this year, so that's
I was about to ask where.
Yeah, it's been in Tampa the first couple of years. 'Cause that's where the guys that created it are from. They all live in Tampa. But this year they moved to Orlando, and the resort was fantastic. It was all on property, so you could just go from the resort to the like hotel to like a restaurant to the conference and back, and not have to like travel.
Okay.
So it's in Orlando every year. It's in this like in June, July timeframe. I think next year it's in the end of June.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you're in that area, like you're in the Florida area, Orlando, really looking for an excuse to go to Orlando for it's a great cause.
We have actually family in Orlando, and there's super cheap tickets to Orlando all the time, so that would be really cool to go down there and check that out.
Better than that 10-hour drive or whatever it is from here.
Have you ever been to like a podcasting convention?
Yeah, I went to in Vegas. What was it called? They've changed the name like 3 times. I want to say it's called what used to be called Blog something, and then they changed it to like New Media Expo, I think is what it's called. And they had a podcast, like they had a podcast track and a bunch of podcasting stuff, and they had like the podcasting awards. And this was years ago. It's funny because podcasting's like almost had this like resurgence.
Yes.
And a lot of people are hearing about it for the first time. Like, what's a podcast? And everyone's like, you should create a podcast. But you go back and look at someone like Kevin Smith, who started Smodcast, and now he's got Smodco. And it all started with a podcast with him and his best friend, Scott Mosier, who's the producer of all his movies. Kevin Smith does Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob. Like, he made all those movies.
Wow.
He's been doing podcasting for over a decade. As long as we've been doing YouTube, he's been doing podcasting. And you got radio personalities like Tom Carolla and many others that like retired from radio to do podcasting.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this for like a decade, but it seems like the last like 2 or 3 years, podcasting is like this new thing, and it's like it's not new. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, we were talking about that on one episode, I think, or maybe it was Will or the radio host, or maybe just me and Katie. Like we've been because in one of your recent podcasts I was listening to, by the way, Clintus has a Riffing with Clintus podcast. Go check it out. Yeah. And he has the gift to gab. He can literally, you're sitting there, and I feel like you're like talking to you're obviously talking to your audience, but like you're sitting there for 45 minutes and like just no stopping. Like it's just it's amazing. But
it's hard to do. I mean, y'all think, okay, well that's easy, I can talk, but I mean it's hard to just keep going sometimes.
Yeah. But we were talking about or you were talking about diversifying and that kind of thing, and that's kind of we started this podcast on a whim and learning. I was listening to another one of your inspirational ones about just trying new things, and if you fail, get back up, blah, blah, blah. But
I think it was me. I was like, Cullen, I just heard of this cool new thing they're doing out there called podcasting. You want to try to do that?
Yeah. And we had no audio experience and I had the YouTube background, so I knew we could set up a camera and record it, and but that's not a podcast necessarily.
We were going to call it Checkmate. We were sitting at the table playing chess. We're like, let's call it Checkmate. It'll be awesome.
And then I slept on it. I was like, that's a dumb name for a podcast. Let's not do that. But yeah, no, you just diversified, and you kind of picked back up this whole ancient thing of podcasting, because then it went to video, and now videos, just like with we're going to dive into this in a little bit, but the whole YouTube world, even when I watch a YouTube video now, I'll start it and hit play and have my AirPod in and walk away from the actual video, but just be listening to the audio of them talking, and then if something grabs my attention, I'll check into it. But podcast is where it's at right now.
That's what crazy. I do anyway. You think about how many people are just sitting on their phone, they don't even watch their TV show. That you know what I mean? Like you can't unless the dialogue on the show is really good, or like it has to be really good, or I'm gonna change the channel because I'm not even watching it. Like if it was something with subtitles, forget about it, because I can't I can't look at my phone while I'm doing that. I mean that's just, it's like the busy go life. But I think it's awesome that you have like your hand in all these different little jars, and I love the gaming thing. I'm so excited about the gaming. You got
your hand into that early, I feel like, and I tried to like comprehend it, and I even created like a Twitch account, and because you can kind of see the movement, the wave of, and right now I think it's TikTok as far as the mobile apps go, and this, that, and the other.
Musically and all the what's the kids.
It's formerly Musically. Now it's TikTok, I think. But yeah, you jumped right into it, and you've created this whole audience over there. That's so intriguing to me.
Now, how long have you been doing Twitch?
Well, so I've been a Twitch partner for a little over 2 years, but I did YouTube gaming for 2 years before that. Okay. So like full time, like full devoted into live streaming on the gaming side for 4 years. But even before that, like, I mean, I can go back to almost as long as I've been vlogging. doing live streams on Ustream, on Justin TV, which is what Twitch used to be called. It's called Justin TV. Remember iJustine? iJustine walked around with that webcam for like a year. Like she was live 24/7. I remember like picking her from the airport and she's walking around with her laptop because, technology back then, there was no the phones that couldn't stream. So she was literally walking around with a laptop and I was like, holy crap, right? Like Ustream, Blog TV, which is now You Now.
Blog TV, that's where me and Katie started our live streams back then. Jesus.
That's called You Now. And then there was mobile apps, right? There was Meerkat and then Periscope. And Periscope got bought by Twitter. So now Twitter's version of live streaming is Periscope. So live streaming's been around for a long time. And I've dabbled with it forever. Before I quit my job to go full-time YouTube, I'd come home on Fridays after work. My wife would go to work, kids would be outside playing or doing their thing. I'd go live for about an hour or two on my YouTube channel, and I just called them live chats or live Q&As, where I would just sit there for an hour or two and just rapid fire answer whatever questions was in chat. Yeah. And that's when YouTube was really starting to dabble with live, so it was huge for your channel. Like you did a live stream, it was like this huge spike in like retention and audience and all that stuff. And that's when I quit my job, I did 2 a week. I went to Wednesdays and I did 1 in the morning, coffee with Clintus. And then I did my live Q&A in the evening. And I really loved it. And then when YouTube announced, I started dabbling with Twitch. I was just streaming from my PlayStation. But when YouTube announced YouTube gaming and they showed some features of like, oh, it's going to be like live. And I'm like, oh, it's like a Twitch rival. And I already have 40,000 subs on my YouTube channel, on my gaming channel. I'm like, I'm going to go here instead of Twitch and see if I can get it on the ground floor. And so that's where it kind of started, where I was like, I built my PC, streaming PC, and started like going really hard into that.
Awesome. So just a couple of years then. I mean, it sounds like you've had experience. It was funny because when Cullen said like you did the gaming and stuff like that, and I was just thinking, man, what a cool job! Like what
you get to play video. You're one of those guys that your mom tells you not to hang out with. Like you're just gonna sit around and play video games. Like, no. That's so crazy.
World.
I wish that I could. World. It's like every man's fantasy job.
Yes.
I just can't do. I don't get it. I've never got it.
Okay.
I mean,
So here's the analogy that I give everybody when someone asks this question, right? So I think of it like I'm a bartender and you're coming to my bar. So when you go to a bar, you sit down, right? You're there for one of three things. One, you're there just to kind of have a drink, ignore what's going on, watch whatever game's going on, just kind of, and we call those the lurkers, right? They pop in the chat, but they don't say anything. They're just sit there to watch, listen, take it in, right? Maybe have some background noise while they're at work. Then you got the one that's there to like to have a conversation with the bartender, right? They crack open their beer and it's like, hey man, how was your weekend? Like, can you believe the I don't know which
the traffic today or the
Alabama
the game. Yeah.
What's the damn team?
Alabama.
Crimson Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
I was trying to think something relevant. But anyway, like can you believe this? And then you have this conversation with the bartender, right? And then you're just having like that one-on-one conversation, and he makes a drink, but he comes back to you, and you guys keep your conversation going, right? So I got those people who come and chat and wanted to talk to me. And then you got the ones that are at the bar and they have a conversation with the person next to them. And they're like, yeah, I can't believe that game. Or, man, did you hear about the thing in the news happened the other day? Or did you hear about Betty Sue around the corner? Yeah. And you have that conversation there. So there's three different things that are happening. And just like a local pub, you start going back, you start building a rapport with the bartender and with the others, other established, members. And then you come in on a Monday and you're like, hey, man, how was your weekend? How was your daughter's recital? How did gymnastics go? And you have this relationship that's being built over time. And just like a bar, if you enjoyed your time, people have the ability to tip. People have the ability to subscribe and paying. So following on Twitch is free. That's like the subscribing on YouTube. It's free to follow. You can turn notifications on, that sort of thing. And then there's a subscription model, which YouTube now has too, called members, and you can join.
Right.
But you click subscribe and you unlock additional features, right? You unlock custom emojis and a little badge next to your name. I don't run ads for my subs, so if you're a subscriber, you don't see ads anymore. So there's a little perk there. And there's all these little feature things, but at the end of the day, it's you're supporting me and doing what I'm doing. So there's a little bit of a monetary. But I tell you all the time, like it's just like going into a bar is a bad analogy there because you have to buy a drink. But let's say you get a soda. You get a soda and you're sitting there to watch the game, right? You're here to watch football.
You're the
on a
DD.
Sunday.
Give me a water. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So people can come to my chat room. A lot of kids obviously from YouTube. They'll apologize that they can't subscribe. I'm like, dude, you're 10. Like. First of all, you shouldn't be on the internet. I get it. You don't have any money. I have a 12-year-old. He can't subscribe either. I get it. Don't apologize. You're here now. You're all good. Your eyeballs, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at the
that's
content.
my analogy that I tell all the time. I'm like, it's like a bar. Like I'm a bartender, and I'm giving you a place to come hang out. And I have different scenes when I stream, right? So sometimes it'll be like my webcam in the corner, and then you have the game as the full screen. And other times my camera's bigger, and maybe like just a little chat window of just the chat moving. And I say all the time, I'm like, I don't need the video game. I push a button and it flips the scene. I said, we can just sit here and chat all day. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk.
Yeah.
Because like the video game is there to kind of like keep the conversation going and give us something to talk about if there's nothing to talk about.
Okay. Right.
And so the video game is something that brings people together. Like, oh, you're into Destiny 2 is my favorite game. That's what I play the most. But I do play other games. But like I'll play a lot of Destiny 2, and I've been playing it since it first came out. It's going on 5 years. And so I know a lot about the game. So people come in my chat room, ask me questions. Hey, what do you think about this? And what's your role on that gun? Or how did you get that armor piece? And like we have these conversations about the game.
Right.
So the game just kind of helps the conversation and keeps things going.
Right.
But like I said, as soon as we're done with this podcast, I'm going live. I will go in what's called the just chatting category. No game, just me and the cam, me and chat, and we'll talk for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the conversations.
Right.
Check up on how the weekend was. What'd you do? It was a holiday weekend here in America, so it's like, what would you do? It's Tuesday. Who's eating tacos? I'm a big fan of
Taco
Tuesdays.
So it's like, what tacos you're gonna have, right? And so we'll have that conversation with no pressure of the game,
right?
Because on the flip side, there's some people who are like, I'm not really into Destiny. I don't really care about it. I don't know anything about it. So as soon as you start playing the game, I'm kind of checking out.
Yeah.
And so try to give everybody that moment of time with my attention. Say, hey, let's talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. If you guys want to ask a question about YouTube, about podcasting, about Twitch streaming, especially kids. Again, a lot of kids on the internet wanting to do this, right? Cullen mentioned the job fairs at the schools, and you have a line of kids because they want to be a YouTuber when they grow up. I get that all day long. In fact, I actually have a podcast episode. It's about 15 minutes, and it's like my advice to new content creators. And I'll link it in chat and be like, hey, since someone dropped that command, it drops the link to the podcast and says, go listen to this podcast. It's 15 minutes. It's my advice, tips, and tricks on a new content creator. Like, I've started creating content like that to answer those questions.
Right.
And I think that's so relatable, too, being able to do the live streaming like that. I feel like Katie actually does one a week on her personal channel. She goes live just to kind of recap the previous video that went up, but her audience retention and the conversation that she has, you just get to know your audience better that way, and then you feel that connection more.
They feel the connection more.
Yeah, so they're more invested in as far as that goes long term. So that's cool. One of the things I love about you is the one. I guess it was one of the first conventions or second conventions. They needed a moderator, and you got up there and literally took over this panel and you were asking these off the wall questions and just kept it rolling. I was like, he has got a freaking talent.
Yeah, it's one thing to do it with the video camera.
Yeah.
It's another thing to get up live in front of a lot of people and go.
I mean, you knew enough about everybody on the panel, and you just kept it going. I was just like, dang, he needs to be a full-time.
I love it.
I
love it. I love. I mean, public speaking has always been something natural to me. I think that's why I gravitated towards this and can do it. I've spoken in front of 300 people. I've spoken in front of 15 people. I've had upwards of 4,000 people in my live stream. So like the number doesn't matter, and whether it's face or not. I will admit it's different when there's people in front of you, but at the same time, I almost feel like you can, if you can do this, read the audience, right? You kind of feel for, if not, I'm not really a funny person naturally, but I react a lot to what's going on. So if someone in the audience says something or I say something and their reaction's a certain way, I can kind of feed off of it. And I always say if I was ever a comedian, I'd be one of those guys that would ask the audience member a question and build a joke off of it. I wouldn't necessarily come with a full list of material. I'd have this much material, but then I'd feed off the audience. Be like, are you guys together? Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. This and that.
Right.
You see your shirt. I'm like, oh, you from Alabama? Is it true what they say down there? Do you really, I would feed off the jokes, and I'd feed off of like that. So I'm more that kind of person. So it is difficult to the podcasting it's a separate beast because it is just me, and everything else I do, there's always an audience. And so, the podcast is one of those things where I still ask for that feedback. I have a Discord server. I'm like, go in the Discord, drop some feedback in there. Let me know what your thoughts are on this and, that sort of thing. But like you said earlier, I can just sit there and just talk because I talk about things that I know. I talk about things that I'm passionate about.
Right.
And I tend to repeat myself a lot, especially if you binge listen to the podcast. You'll hear me say the same thing 2 or 3 times. But that's because that's what I know. And I don't try to bullshit and talk about things I don't know.
Yeah.
And something that you said in another episode earlier was about how politics and religion, you just kind of you don't talk about it. And then you said how you don't really know anything about it, so you just kind of avoid the conversation in general.
Right.
I'm very much the same way. I'm very uneducated, and that's by choice because I don't care to get in. I see people get into these pissing matches. I'm just like, it's not worth it, man.
It's like, what the heck? I mean, there's
unfriending each other on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all, come on.
Yeah, Facebook's the worst about it. I mean, other than Twitter, but golly,
it's rough.
It's crazy. So I got a question. What the hell happened to YouTube? That's for I want to know that too. Like for my own personal self.
You started doing daily vlogs too, right? That was your thing.
Daily was the way to go.
The same way. So.
Yeah, I did close to 6 years like never missing a beat, and then after 6 years, I took a slight break. Went to like weekly, and then I started doing challenges and trying to like play around and see what I liked and then what my audience liked. And
that
then
was kind of the time
daily.
It was blowing up too, and a lot of people were doing that and trying new things and challenges and all these fun things.
So 2016 was our best year.
I was just about to say, I think you and me both had the same year in 2016. It was the best year.
Yeah. 2016 was amazing. We had a viral hit. We had a video from our vacation, a sponsored video no less, that hit 1 million views in a week in like 6 days. It hit 1 million views. And then every video after that, we went on this like camping trip with our trailer and our dirt bikes. And of course, at the time, dirt bikes were really hot on my channel. Every video got 100,000 views in like 6 to 8 hours. It was just like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, this is it. This is it. Rocket ship. Like this is somebody. The ignition is, and we were hitting the stratosphere.
Yeah.
The snowball.
Cullen was just telling me that's how you get the most views. Is the faster that you get views, the more views you'll get.
You get recommended and all that. Yep. Yeah.
So I use that analogy of the rocket ship because it's like I blew through the atmosphere, then we hit space, and I ran out of fuel.
Yeah.
And so 2017 comes, and we're still doing really well in like previous years, but you could tell the velocity had died, and we're now in space. Okay, like it's one of those things where like, you're like, I'm going to Mars, I'm going to the moon. Like you get all hyped, you're like, I'm gonna do this. Like you want to be a YouTuber. That's like going to Mars. You're going to be like one of the first. You're going to be a pioneer. Everyone's going to look at you and be like, you're awesome. You were one of the first people on Mars. So you get all hyped about it, right? And you've been doing all this work and all this training. And you finally, it's launch day. The rocket ship takes off. You get to space and you run out of fuel. Something breaks, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can still say that I made it to space. I'm one of the few like 100 people in the world to make it to space.
Right.
But I didn't quite make it to my destination. And now I'm just kind of floating around here going like, what's next? That's my YouTube career.
Okay.
I was doing YouTube for a long time.
Yeah.
Kids ask me every day, what would you want to be a YouTuber? What made you want to be a YouTuber? I'm like, there was no such thing as a YouTuber when I tried to start. There was no ad revenue. There was no partner program. I was uploading videos because I had a blog. And instead of writing text, I'd rather talk.
Right.
So
easier.
I started doing video blogs and embedding them on and uploading them to my server. And then when I found YouTube, Blip TV, Vidler, Vimeo, I started dabbling with all of them. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I can upload my video here, get views over here, but then I can also upload it and put it on my blog. Awesome. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then get people to the blog. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we found out we were pregnant with our second kid, and I did like a baby update, and that got like twice as many views as all the other stuff I did. And I was like, oh, people actually care about my life. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I started doing baby updates, and then Bryce's birth is on there, and I've done a search, and from what I mean, obviously this YouTube search changes all the time, but I'm pretty sure he is the first birth on YouTube.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Did it a live birth?
Yeah. Well, the whole process of like walking in the hospital, you see her with her little IV walking around and stuff like that. And then she's on the bed, like hunched over, getting her epidural, and then boom, baby. And so, we skipped the whole the graphical part, but there's a naked baby on the table getting dried off, and his little baby ball sticking out between his butt cheeks. So
I love
and then the first night there, and then Sierra meeting him for the first time. Sierra was only 2, and so she's meeting him for the first time, and like that whole vlog, is a thing.
Right.
And then from there it was like baby updates, and then it was like, okay, these are getting a lot of traction, so I just started doing the family stuff. And then when Shay Carl and Charles Trippy and those guys started doing the daily life thing, that was a genre. I was like, I'm gonna try this out. Started doing that. And right around the time that I started that, our dirt bike video, like I got my kids dirt bikes for Christmas, that video started getting a lot of traction. So I think it was a combination of me uploading daily and this video getting a lot of traction that the channel just started to really grow.
Right.
And I tell kids all the time, it took me 6 years to get my first YouTube check.
Yeah.
6 years of uploading, 6 years of
with nothing in return, really.
Yeah.
And today, most kids won't last 6 days or 6 weeks.
No,
right? Like
yeah.
they don't see views or subs, and they're like, I'm out. This sucks.
Yeah. I tell that story all the time. It took us 3 years to get 5,000 subscribers, which is pennies. I mean, not even nothing. I mean,
right.
But still did it because of the desire, the passion for it.
Right.
And then it's still, I mean, not necessarily now, but like early on, it took a while for my brain to switch from hobby, passion, fun to LLC, business, lifestyle,
Right.
like I was like, what? I can't, this isn't a business. This is like what I like to do. And then, so we've got the same kind of background as far as that goes, as far as that trajectory, and then you're floating around in space. So you recently, our house is on the market, if y'all have seen some of the past videos and stuff, and you recently moved out of your house. And I kind of got in touch with you because of that. I was like, this is crazy. Like, we're literally have so much in common.
In the same season of life and everything.
Yeah.
Got the gray beards. I mean,
he's got me beat on the kids as far as the age goes there. In the
That's true.
Dirt bike. I can't wait to get dirt bikes. But so you're doing the smart thing, and we kind of dabbled in this too, like wanting to rent for you, not get stuck in that mortgage again and all that kind of stuff. But so I would.
It's nerve wracking when you think about it. I mean, just that as a business in itself, it's like, because you never really know. You never know which way
It's
which
like
way
if
it's
you
gonna
don't
go.
upload or stream today, or you're not going to get paid. I mean, you have to work for what you get. And,
Right. It changes it from a hobby to a job, and I think with anything, it kind of. Changes, I don't know, changes the way that you do it and things like that. So I actually have, I'm curious because you said you have, 2 children, correct? A girl and a boy. And they're 13, I think you said 13 now, right?
14 and 12.
14 and 12. Okay, so that's the entire YouTube, right?
Yep.
I mean, you said they
Like
were
the birth
born
vlog,
on
yeah.
YouTube. So how is it, and this is me being a girl and wanting to know this side of it. I mean, how is it for them and basically raising your kids and your wife? I mean, how does that work? What do they think about it? Like, I'm always kind of curious as Sophia. I'm like, is she going to get mad at me for posting this video of her naked?
When I first met
Clintus,
Clintus, I was like, "Where's your wife? Like, you need to get your wife in the vlogs more." And you're like, she kind of stays behind the scenes. And then, like, as time goes on, you see her holding the camera, and I'm like, "Look at Tiffany, God, yeah, like it's working."
It took her a long time. It took her a long time to get on camera. When I first started vlogging, she was like, don't put me on camera. Like, literally, I don't want to be on camera at all. Even my brother-in-laws, which is funny now, they have a channel. They've been vlogging for a couple of years. Anytime that I'd put the camera on him, he'd flip me off. He'd just be like, like, I don't want to be on camera, right? Or he'd say something like, he'd drop an F word or something like that. I'm like, okay, you don't want to be on camera. I got it. And then, fast forward a couple of years later, he's like, how do you vlog again?
yes.
But no, yeah, my kids have grown up with it. I mean, they get asked that question actually pretty frequently. Like, what's it like being your whole family, your whole life on YouTube? And they're just kind of like, they don't know anything different.
Right.
And I, especially my daughter, she's in high school this year. She's a freshman. I'm very, like, I ask her all the time, I'm like, do you ever get like picked on, or do people like talk trash about me, or like make you feel uncomfortable, or anything like that at all? And she's like, no. Like, honestly, at this point, like, you're the coolest dad in the school, and like everyone knows that we have a YouTube channel. They don't necessarily watch it, because I definitely, my content has changed the last couple of years, where I'm less kid focused and less kid as my core demographic, which we can get into that later if you like. But so kids aren't watching my content nearly as much, which obviously reflects in the views. And
they grew up and grew into different things and different interests.
Sure.
And I think that even with you, that's where a lot of views came from, is from a younger audience that kind of grew out of it, because that's what kids do. They grow out of stuff.
Well, but there's also more kids making content. So there's there's teenagers that are 13 plus making videos, and kids want to watch kids, which is where our content got popular in the first place, because you had the first generation of kids that were 10, 11, 12 with tablets. And they were finding our family videos going, oh, look at these kids playing with cars, and look at these kids at the beach. And like, so now you got more kids making content. So now they're watching those kids.
Right.
And that's why you look at like VidCon and Playlist Live.
I don't know half of the people on the list. I was just about to say that.
Is it all a bunch of kids now? I've never been to
our
one.
featured creators. And I'm like, who the hell? I've never heard of this person.
They're all high school kids.
But they have like millions of subscribers and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, this past VidCon, it was almost like they tried to do a throwback VidCon with the creators they brought in. It was like all the old school Shay Carl and Timothy Day, all those OGs.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was done on purpose, or I'm sure it was. But
yeah, the kids are good. They don't. I mean, Bryce is definitely more like Tiffany, who's more of a introvert.
Okay.
And Sierra is definitely like me. She's the extrovert. She has her own channel. She does like unboxing videos and like some art stuff like that. But she's definitely more of the outgoing. But I say that, and Bryce will have these random, he's 12, so he's still a goofy kid, right? He's still like, he hasn't quite hit that, like, I'm too cool to be on YouTube, Dad. He hasn't quite hit that mode yet. But he'll get goofy and silly. He'll do just like random stuff, and it's hilarious, and Tiffany's the same way too. When she's in the mood, Tiffany will have her goofy moments, and she'll make I'm editing and I'm laughing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. It was hilarious. But she has to be in the mood. Whereas for me, it's very easy. I can literally be having an argument and then turn the camera real quick and be like, hey guys, welcome back to the vlog.
Yes.
And then what I can do that. And it's not, I'm not saying I'm faking it. I'm just saying that I know I can real quick. I need to capture this. Let me capture this real quick and then get back to what I was doing. Whereas if Tiffany's in the middle of something like that, she's like, I can't do this right now. I can't vlog. I can't,
Yeah, that's so funny.
They're just different people. So Bryce is very different. Kids ask me all the time, hey, when's Bryce going to have a channel? When's Bryce going to make a YouTube channel? Bryce should have a YouTube channel. I'm like, you're right. He should. But he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He would.
Well, that's good. You don't want to force them. And like even in one of our one of our videos on the main channel, just last week, Brooks was singing, and he said 3, and he said, don't vlog me. He's gotten to where he knows what I'm doing, and so I literally, you got to respect the private, because when you get to that, like, and you see these horror stories on Twitter of these YouTube families that have all this crap going on behind the scenes and all this stuff,
right? Like forcing on, like, you better do this.
Doing it for the money and all this stuff, locking them up in closets.
It's so funny you said like you can just turn it on, and I just automatically thought of our mom when we were kids, and she would be like spanking us, like crying, just hysterical, screaming, like, this hurts me more than it hurts you, and the phone would ring, and she'd be like, hello. Yeah. And then be like looking at us like giving us the eye. But I think that it's a cool trait to have to be able to just kind of go.
It's interesting you say that, because I actually just talked about this. I don't know if it was on live stream or on the podcast. My story starts to blur where I said them at, but there was a moment where we were doing a lot of sponsored work. It was around that 2016 time frame where we doing a lot of sponsored work. And I remember in 1 week we had to shoot 3 sponsored videos just so we could get them out, to get them like approved and whatnot. And the kids are friendly, kids are popular, so they'd always have friends that would want to come over and play. So I remember distinctively over the course of that week shooting those 3 videos right after school. Sorry guys, we got to do this. We got to do these videos and get it done so the mom can do dinner, and then we can, then you guys can play, and then you can do free time. They'd get their friends knocking on the door saying, hey, can you come out and play? And it's like, no, sorry, I want to shoot a video, blah, blah. Sorry, we're doing this thing. The 3rd day, so it had been 3 days, I remember distinctively my son, so he was probably maybe 8, 7 or 8, something like that. 3rd day, knock on the door, opens the door. It's the same friend for the 3rd time. And he's like, no, sorry, I got to make this video for my dad. And the way he said it, like, I have to do this for my dad.
Yeah.
It really struck a chord with me. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What, like borderline child labor, right? Granted, they were playing with Hot Wheels cars, and they got these cool toys, and we're having this fun time.
Right.
But, it wears on them. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, we're no longer going to do anything unless we ask up front and we say, are you cool with this? And then they have it in their head. They know they're doing this thing, and like it's a family thing. And again, you can see that in the content, like after like I said, 2017, things really started to change. We moved, we bought that house, thought the house was going to make things, the videos better, and it didn't. And, but it was one of those things where the kids started getting older and they started doing their own thing, especially my daughter. At this point now, she's in her room, she's either FaceTime with her best friend or she's in a group chat. She's, she'll go live on Instagram and she's like on with all her friends, or they're playing video games, or she's just watching Netflix or YouTube, and like she's doing her own thing. And so it's hard because they're not around as much to vlog. They're not around. They're not sitting at my feet playing with cars, or, hey daddy, read, do this with me, or, it's like they're doing their own thing. So the content of the kids started to go down, which then the kids are like, wait, I don't want to listen to dad talk all the time. I'm gonna go find another channel. And
I can listen to my own dad.
Yeah. That's kind of really ultimately what ended up happening with our channel. They did change the algorithm. I 100% saw the change. It was like a light switch. And I actually had 2 consultants look at my channel. I paid for one. The other one was a friend. And I was like, what's going on with my channel? Something
it's
happened.
Literally like they flipped a switch. Like we even reached out to YouTube. We're like, what the hell is going on? And can you look into this? Because I mean, it was scary.
So it has a lot to do with YouTube and what they're doing?
Both. I mean, and then all the apocalypse stuff happened.
Yep.
And, I mean, we're sitting there trying to close on a house and the revenues, and I'm just like, are we going to be able to do this?
Yeah, I could see. So I could see specifically what happened to my channel. It took a couple months. So I had to see the trends. So it took a couple months, which hurt, like freaked me out. I'm seeing the numbers drop, and I'm going like, I gotta wait to see what happens. Like, they changed the way that videos were served. So it used to be recommended, and they changed them to suggested, or maybe it's the other way around. I forget. Suggested versus recommended. But the way it used to be was if you're watching a Clintus TV dirt bike video, then the sidebar would be more Clintus TV videos.
Right.
Specifically dirt bike, but some non-dirt bike. But the whole sidebar was my content.
Right.
And then when they made the change, so little by little, those slots on the side started changing to more whatever the topic where you were looking. So if you were looking for a Clintus dirt bike video, you hear some more dirt bike videos, whether they were with Clintus or not.
Okay.
And then what happened is they would start clicking on the thumbnails and the titles and go to another channel.
Right.
Now, we hear about session watch time, so I still get that session watch time, but I wasn't getting the views, aka wasn't getting the ad revenue.
Right.
And so that's where that downward spiral started happening, because our channel really, really thrived on my library, right? I've been doing this a long time, so with 2,000 videos in my library, chances are you were going to watch 10 or 15 of my videos when you sat down and binge watched, because I just have a lot of content and a lot of it's relatable. We do a lot of the same activities, and that's how my channel like really, really grew. I had a lot of views for a low sub account. Fast forward to today, and now it's more accurate to my subs watching videos. But again, 13 years, I got a lot of dead subs. I got a lot of subs that don't watch YouTube anymore. They created new accounts. They just stopped watching like altogether.
Now is YouTube like going in and getting rid and like looking to see if there's been any kind of activity on this person's
they'll
this
do
person's
some
thing,
random
and then
purges here and there.
I mean, I didn't know if I'd heard that was like a thing where they just go in and sweep and like get rid of all of the inactive accounts.
They do. I don't know what the time frame is, but they do that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
One of the things I noticed when like we made our announcement video about selling our house is like these people come out of the woodwork, these comments are like, I haven't watched y'all in years. Oh my God, your kids are so old now. I remember when Gaines was first born. But it just goes to show you that that demographic or that audience grows up and moves on and that kind of thing. And we've also noticed anything with our kids in the thumbnails that used to do really well tanks now. But if it's me and Katie talking about our relationship or our life, does better because our demographics, that 18 to 34-year-old, they're not the 10 and 12-year-olds that they used to be. And so they've kind of grown up and they're off to college now. And so intriguing how it all works like that.
Which leads to, the whole you being out in space floating around. Which direction are you going to go? And I imagine it's more towards the older audience, which is kind of crazy because we are older and, so that's what we can relate to more. But not as many older people watch YouTube. It's not like that's your go-to source of entertainment. For me, anyway, I don't automatically go to YouTube. I turn on Netflix or I turn on, the TV or whatever, watch a movie. So
the
it's
age
different.
demographic is, absolutely, 100%. And that's the thing, too, as the kids get older, Colin, like you were saying, kids that were watching with us 4, 5, 6 years ago are now in college, right? They're now having – there's one person individual, she goes by Fulcrum on Twitch. But I remember specifically she came to my chat one day. I was doing a live stream at the Desert Botanical Garden. I have a backpack that allows me to stream like on the go. Oh, and she pops in and she's like, hey, I've been watching you for 5 years. I'm a freshman in college now. I have a job. I think she tipped me like $50. And she was like, I just want you to know, like, I'm actually an adult now. I actually have my own money. I can support you. And I want to thank you for years of being part of your family. Like, I feel like I know you and your family and it means everything to me. And, so to see that, to actually physically, because Shay Carl actually was the one who told me this years ago, was, on one of the panels he was on, I asked a question. I was like, how do you get kids to buy t-shirts? How do you get kids to buy things? They don't have a wallet. He's like, they will one day. He's like they're fans of now. Is you can if you can maintain their attention and maintain their love and their affection, whatever. One day they will be old enough to do that. Or Christmas or birthday, they're like, yeah, we want merch here. We want this thing. And so, it's true. We're actually seeing that come to fruition now because we've been doing this for so long. But as I mentioned earlier about changing the kind of the demographic and what you were just saying, kids are very fickle, right? And it's easy to lump all kids. And there's some good kids out there. There's some kids that go against the grain and outside of the mold. But for the most part, let's just kind of lump all kids together here. Kids are very fickle. They only care about you if you're doing something that they care about.
Right.
So, I play video games on Twitch. 99% of the kids want me to play Fortnite, right? They come in my chat room and they're like, hey, you should play Fortnite. When are you playing Fortnite? Why aren't you playing Fortnite? Like, when was the last time you played Fortnite? What do you think about this thing on Fortnite? I'm like, I don't play Fortnite anymore. I did Fortnite for a year, never loved it, never got a solo win. I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
I go, trust me, you don't want me to play Fortnite. You're going to hate it. You'll be there for 5 minutes. Like, this guy sucks. I'm out of here. But that's the truth. And my YouTube channel proves this model that you subscribe to my channel for dirt bikes. Well, guess what? We don't ride dirt bikes anymore. So they stopped watching. You subscribe to my channel because we did a bunch of Nerf gun videos. Well, we don't do Nerf gun bites anymore because my kids are kind of like over it.
Yeah.
So they don't watch anymore.
Right.
You subscribed because we were like really big on this thing, and now we're not on that thing anymore. So vlogging is so hard because every day is different.
Right.
And the advice I give people all the time that start a YouTube channel is like, don't vlog. Vlogging should be a secondary thing. Start with something specific and very niche, right? Whatever you're passionate about, right? So literally, what's the one thing you can talk about every single day and never get tired of it, right? Is it college football? Then you start a podcast or a Q&A or something about college football, right? And pour your heart and soul into that. And then once you kind of start to build a following and people are really into what you're talking about, now they're going to care about your life. Now they're going to care. Curious. Absolutely. And I said, even then you kind of build that audience up on one thing. And I mean, that's how Shay Carl and Charles Trippy started.
Right.
Shay had his Shay Carl channel where he did like comedy skits with the station and all those, the
old school stuff.
Yeah. The old school.
God,
what was the name of the,
I remember.
Well, it's called The Station, but what they turn into that Disney bought, Maker Studios. The original Maker Studios crew was The Station, and they did comedy skits and stuff like that. They rented an office space to do skits and do YouTube videos with each other. That's literally how Maker started. Yeah. Charles Trippy had his Charles Trippy channel where he did skits and music videos and comedy stuff with Shay and whatever. And then they started vlogging. Right. Roman Atwood, he did the pranks. He had 1 million subs plus on his prank channel before he started vlogging, Like that's the model that really resonates and what YouTube's all about. It's all about the niche and the search algorithm, right? So when you do a search for something, this is a channel that has the authority for that topic. Vlogs are
up and down.
It's all over the place.
A video that does well and the next video doesn't because that video has nothing to do with that video.
Right. Yeah. And especially when we're doing 3 days a week now, I mean, we have so much different stuff that happens in between each day. It's literally not the same.
Right.
The same topic.
I wonder, like, now that your kids are a little older, do they ever go back and watch videos? Like, I mean, the coolest part about it for me, and I always told Cullen, was like, God, I wish we had our home movies. Like, we don't know where the VHSs are, but they're somewhere. But I remember watching those when I was a little bit older, like in high school, watching us when we were 6 or 7 at Christmas, a Christmas VHS, and just being like, that's so cool to be able to see myself in these home movies and like, look how I was at, look how cool I was, look how stupid Cullen looked, and you know what I mean? Like, so that was like the big fun part for me that I wish that we had. And so, when I wanted to start doing this, I was like, this is going to be awesome because Sophia, my children, will be able to, I'll be able to look back at our life and it's kind of like a diary,
Absolutely.
And that's like the coolest part for me anyway. And so like, I kind of wonder, do your kids, do you actually take the time to ever go back and look? Do y'all sit around like, hey, let's look at 10 years ago? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it happens sometimes, like not like that, like in a sit down session. I think that's going to happen like 4 or 5 years from now. Like when the kids are out of high school and boyfriends and girlfriends come over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, because the kids just started school about a month ago. We started school so early here in Arizona. But the first day of school time frame, Sierra and her like best friend, they FaceTimed each other while watching our first day of school videos.
Oh yeah.
Because Sierra's first video, her kindergarten, it was all shot on my iPhone. This is how old it was. It was shot with my iPhone, a little 720p HD video. Yeah. And so she went back and watched, because I have a whole playlist of just our first day of school videos, and so she just went and binge watched the whole playlist of all their first day of school videos. Oh. And then every once in a while, Tiffany will do that too. She'll be watching a vlog, and then on the sidebar will be like an older video, and she'll get lost and
Yeah.
start watching.
Katie does that too all the time.
Look at them! Look how little they were.
Yeah. She's more likely to do it than I am, just because I'm always
Editing.
forward thinking. I'm always just
same,
like,
same.
but again, when I'm sitting in my recliner, and when I'm 50, I'll be able to just, let me see what my kids look like right now.
I honestly thought that I would watch them more, but I literally haven't. It's like as soon as I edit them, I might not even watch it to make sure I edited it right before I put it up. I'm just done. Here you go. But then when you work on something, it's kind of like when you write something down, you remember it better. Like if you're the one that's actually watching the video and editing the video.
Yeah, I've seen that scene 500 times already. I don't want to watch it again.
Cut a part out right after that.
Yeah. Even a year later.
But yeah, for Sophia, I think it'd be really cool down the road, like you said, when the boyfriends come over and it's like, let's show embarrassing stuff about Sophia.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It'll be fun.
Gaines still likes to go back and watch her. Like she's like, oh, look at baby Gaines, and then Brooke says, is that me? And we're like, no, that's Gaines. It's not you. You weren't here yet. But now you mentioned something. What was it? Earlier, I was listening to one of your podcasts though, and you're talking about moods and how you get in these moods, and I'm the same way. And it's like you said, like a cycle of like, I don't know if it's like
every 2-3 weeks.
You just get sick of it, or you get triggered by something, or you just get in a funk. And I've been the same way, and I feel like YouTube and this content creation helps me get out of it quicker than I would have if I was sitting in an office all day every day. I would still just be in a funk all the time. Yeah, because that sucks. But
I'm like certain that men get PMS. I'm sorry, I'm just saying. I think the postpartum. I think they go through the same kind of hormone crazy.
Yeah. I went through some major stuff back. It was with the new house and the ad revenue dropping, and that whole lifestyle thinking it's going to make things better, but it actually. I was going to ask you if you had any regrets throughout your whole career, but I probably know the answer. Like no, because you wouldn't have gotten to where you are today without going through the hard stuff.
In my 20s, I was big on the what ifs, right? I always look back and go, what if this and what if that? Because Tiffany and I have been together since high school. I was a junior, she was a sophomore, and we've been together, ever since. And so, so this September will be 16 years of marriage.
Wow.
21 years together total.
Wow.
And so, I used to be like, what if this, and what if we would have waited to have kids, and what if we would have, traveled more and stuff like that. There's all those what ifs. But then my 30-year-old brain's on, okay, look, dumbass, here's how time travel works. You go back and you do this thing to change that, and all of a sudden you don't have a daughter. Now this doesn't happen. What if you lost an arm because you did this thing? Like my brain starts going, yeah. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to change anything. Yeah. But no. I mean, there's little moments in my history that I wish that I could go back and like for example, out of college, I was making movies, working on independent films. I got a job to edit a vampire movie, and I was so pumped. I'm like, this is it. This is my big break. I'm editing a vampire movie. I'm the editor. And then I was working at Home Depot at the time because I was like, well, if I need a plan B. If movie stuff doesn't work out, I need a corporate job that I can work up my ladder and get benefits and that sort of thing. So I was like, Home Depot, here we go. And these guys were like, yo, we want to hire you and be our video and editor and everything all in one. While you work on the movie, we paid you for the movie, but we want you to work on this other stuff too. So I quit my job and I started working at this studio about half an hour away from where I live, and I'm like, this is it. This is it, right? And it didn't. After 2 months, they ran out of money, closed up shop. In fact, they owed me a month worth of salary, and I ended up keeping the computer that I was using because I'm like, well, here's your you owe me money, and they're, you go and keep the computer. I'm like, oh, thanks, I'll pay my mortgage with this computer. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah. But I took a leap of faith with these guys, these other two guys, the guys that originally brought me in, not the business partners that failed, but the other two. I took a second mortgage out of my house and lived off of that for a year, working with these guys, trying to make movies and trying to make something happen. And it didn't. And it really came down to that, 23-year-old Clint is not a very good boss. And I was not very responsible or diligent enough to do my own work. It's like I still was trying to treat it like a 9 to 5. And so I'd show up at the house at 10 and leave the house at 6 and have to pick up my kid, and my wife goes off to work. And these guys are like, they're in that mentality we're in now, Colin. Like they work for a couple hours, go take a break, come back, work for a couple hours, go to dinner, come back, work a couple hours, catch up on Twitter and Instagram and whatever, and maybe do another couple hours of email. Like that was them back then, and my brain wasn't ready for that, right? My brain was punch in, punch out, free time, weekends.
Yeah.
Right.
And so ultimately it was a failed project, but we were in the hole for 50K. And this is when the market crashed. So we were way upside down in our house. And ultimately that's one of the reasons why we stayed in our house for 14 years, because we rode out the bubble, and we ended up selling our house and making money on top of the 50K that we pulled out.
Right.
So it worked out in the long run. But when
you
I
didn't
went
have
back
a
to my,
chance to move if you wanted to.
no,
right?
no. And when, a lot of people were leaving their houses, they were short selling or walking away from them and claiming bankruptcy and all that. So we wrote it out. But when I went back to 9 to 5 after that year, like I wasn't making enough money. I like we put a bill on a credit card every month for a year, and we were so in debt. Like we just had our second kid, no, we were getting ready to have our second kid. Like we'd just gotten pregnant when this all happened, and we're like, oh my, like Tiffany was freaking out. She's like, what the hell are we doing? And then after 1 year, I got a promotion. I worked at Cox Communications for 9 years, and so I got a promotion that literally doubled my income, and was like, and
the saving grace, yeah.
Yeah, I got the yes for the job the day that Bryce was born.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like this like crazy like
it was a close one.
Like Bryce was born, and I'm like on the phone with my old boss saying congratulations, your new boss will call you tomorrow and but enjoy the baby time and all that stuff like that, and so that was one thing that was really like that 1 year was just that's where a lot of this gray hair came from.
Right. Yeah.
And as far as the recent house purchase and sale, like no regrets there, because I mean it's a life experience. We bought that house; it was way too big, but we're like, we got 2 guest rooms, like people can come stay the night, they can drink and not have to drive home. Like we got a big pool and a big giant patio and all this room and space to do all these fun, cool things. And I was thinking both YouTube, I was thinking both family, because my father-in-law has always been the house party, right? He's got 4 bedrooms, so everyone comes there, pool party, crashes there, stays the night, wake up for breakfast in the morning. I was like, I want that. You're retired, old man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Retired. Everyone's coming to my house. Well, we were a little too far away. Nobody wanted to come.
Right.
And so after 2 years, we were just kind of like, Tiffany and I are looking at each other like, why are we paying for this place and nobody's enjoying it with us?
Exactly what we said.
It's empty. I mean, 2 years, we had empty rooms still. We had the loft upstairs that was empty. We had a guest room that was still empty. Like,
we still did. That's just crazy. Like we're literally the same person.
Were y'all like done with kids? Did you think that you were gonna have more kids, or were you done? Or?
No. I mean, so here's the funny thing. We say we're done. Tiffany's like, we're done. But when I mentioned going and getting fixed, she's like, well, I'm like, no. Like Sierra's 14. We're both 37. Like we're not having any more kids. Like let's just go do it and be done with it. Right? Let's be done with it.
That throw a wrench in the plans.
But I think she doesn't like permanent. Like she doesn't have any tattoos. She doesn't have any body augmentation because she's very like that's permanent. Like that's forever. And so me fixed is, even though it's not technically permanent, it's close enough to it that she's like, but if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. And I'm like, well, if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen either way.
Yeah. It's like,
we weren't having any more kids. Like I said, it was literally just like, we wanted at least 1 guest room. We ended up getting a second one just because that was the floor plan that we got. We wanted a pool. We got a pool and a fantastic backyard, and it just we had these visions, and we thought this was the way it was going to be, and it wasn't.
Right.
And then we realized too, like our old house was small, so we were always out of the house. We were never home, right? Because we were like, let's go do stuff. And of course, we had extra income too, because I technically had 2 jobs, and so we were out all the time. We were going to staycations, we were traveling, we take little weekend trips, and we bought this house thinking like, oh, we got this big like resort style home. We don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And we quickly realized that we do like going out. We do like the social. Like my wife and I now, we go to happy hour almost every Friday. Just an hour or 2 at the bar. We'll order an appetizer and a beer, and we just kind of shoot the shit and people watch and catch up on the week and what are you gonna do this weekend. And we were missing that because when you're at home, it's different. Like it's too easy to. All right, I'm going to go to my office. I'm going to go stream. I'm going to go work on something. I'm going to go, whereas when you physically go somewhere, that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
And realize that we missed that. And so it just made sense. We didn't lose any money. We made money on the house because thankfully the area that we bought the house in all built around us. They all new homes. So the price of the house went up, and, so we didn't lose money on the deal.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
So that's good. And, we still have our down payment plus the money we made. So we're sitting on that for the next house. And, we're renting this place right now, and it's the right size. Like Tiffany likes the size of this place. We do want a 1-story though. It's a 2-story, and we're still, stairs are just
gotta
annoying.
think about the knees. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to wait. Election year next year, we'll see what the real estate market looks like.
It makes me so nervous. Like as you were saying, I'm like, just wait, just don't buy anything because you're gonna buy it and you're gonna get really stuck. I feel the recession coming on.
Yes.
And it's funny you're talking about like y'all are 37. There's no way you're having more kids. Your oldest is 12. Our niece, her oldest is 12. I think 12 and 15 now, and she had her tubes tied after her second child. After I
don't know if this is public yet.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that. But anyway, Cullen. But anyway, She called me a few months ago and was like, I've scheduled the appointment to have them untied. I want to try for another kid. And she's 30, she's 38. So she's like, and her old, and I'm like, well, you were like so close, you know what I mean? Like you're almost out the door. And she's like, I just want one more, So you never know. Your wife could come home one day and be like, okay,
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's what she's thinking. She's thinking, because her oldest sister, she's the youngest of 4, and her oldest sister, who's 12 years older, had her first kid at 40. And that's just, serendipity, a couple different marriages. First husband didn't want kids at all. Second husband didn't last long enough. Third husband, right out of the gate, she's older than him. And he was like, I want to start a family. And I think she was like, I'm ready too. So as soon as they got married, they're pregnant, and little Bella, she's fantastic. But, she was 40. And so I'm not saying anything about an age bracket, just we started young. We had our first kid 23 and 22, because we'd been together for 5 years or 6 at that time. And we were we knew we wanted to be family. We knew we wanted to be parents. In fact, Tiffany in high school, that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do when you leave out high school? And she's like, I don't know. I just want to be a mom. That was literally what she says. I just want to be a mom. And that's when I knew, okay, let's put a ring on that.
Because me too. Yeah, I love it.
It's just crazy because we've got a 5-year-old this month, and then just had a 3-year-old. And I just cannot imagine going back to the baby stage. At
and
this
doing it again.
Point in life, I'm just like, I
imagine when they're old enough to feed themselves, you might think differently. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we have some friends, all of our friends from high school, Tiffany, she's with best friends with these girls for, 20 years or so. We all had kids about the same time. So we all have kids at the same age. Well, 3 of them all had a third, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, except for us. And it was funny because we went, we get this cabin every winter, and we get there's 12 of us in this giant cabin. We all get together. We get our onesies on. It's Christmas time. We're doing all the activities, and it's just a good time. But this one year they're all walking, but they were probably still I think they were all still in diapers. So with that 2 to 3 age group, and we're doing our thing. We're playing. I think we're playing what's that, left, right, center. So we're drinking. There's dollar bills flying around, and our kids are all doing their own thing because they're all all the first set of kids, right? They're all 12 and 10 or whatever. And there's these 3 little ones running around crying, screaming. Moms have to get up, and one's sitting there going motherfucker. Tiffany and I just look at each other and we give a high five. And we're like, yep. We didn't hit that reset button.
Perfect.
Yeah. Me and Katie have that same conversation when we leave a friend's house. That we're just like, nope. Yep. We're good. We're still good.
It's funny, it's which way you go. I didn't think I ever wanted kids until I turned 27. Then I was like, yep, I want them for sure. And then, but I I did all the traveling and stuff in my 20s, and I partied and I did that thing. Whereas a lot of my friends went straight out of high school and had babies,
Yep.
So it was different. I was on the other. It was in a different season of life for sure. So I lost touch with a lot of them. But it's one of those things where, I'm glad that I waited, because I feel like the 20-year-old me could not handle this shit. Okay, at all. But the 33-year-old me's having a hard time too. So I'm going, okay, well, if I want 5 and I'm going to be having babies, I should have started a little earlier maybe. But you're obviously doing an awesome job. It looks like your kids are well-rounded, and this YouTube thing doesn't affect them in any negative way.
I've met them personally.
Sure.
They're great kids.
Yeah, they seem like a super fun family. And
What's left, right, center? I want to know that game.
Oh yeah,
being on
it's a dice game, and it literally says LRC, and I think there's a dot on one of the sides as well. But anyway, everyone starts with if it's 3 ones or 2 ones, might be 3, literally dollar bills. And so the first person rolls the dice, and then whatever the dice land. Oh yeah, so it's 3 ones and 3 dice, and so whatever the dice land on, you have to pass the dollar bills. So either left, right, or in the center, which is the pot. And the last person standing gets the pot.
Oh, this sounds
fun.
How much money do you have to have? Everybody comes in with $5 or something? What do you?
Well, I forget off the top of my head if it's 2 dice or 3, but whatever the number of dice is, how many ones you have.
Oh,
so you just play with singles. It's just singles. And, you get 10 people together. That's $30, whatever. Right? And you just keep playing. So it's just an easy game. Kids can play it too. And like I said, you roll the dice, and it's left, right, center. And like I said, I want to say there's another thing that you skip or get to keep the money or whatever. I forget what it was, but you pass the money. And so, Cullen, and let's say the 3 of us are playing, we roll the dice. I passed 1 to you and I passed 1 to Cullen. Well, now I'm out. But I stay in my position because if Cullen rolls, let's say an L, now he gives me $1. Yeah, now I'm back in the game.
Yeah,
and so you
I like
keep
it.
playing until the money eventually passes either all to one person or to the center. And it's the last man standing gets the pot.
How
so
did we not
it's a
know
fun
about
game.
this?
No,
That sounds maybe because we
no.
just never had any money. We were like, nah, that's my dollar. I'm gonna need that $1 later. Let me just step out of this.
Funny.
That's awesome. We were just talking about games on the last podcast, so that's a new one for us.
Left,
but
right, center.
okay, I got to ask you. I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I have to ask because I ask everybody, what is your best don't tell mom story? It seems like you were a rascal. I mean, you might have done something.
I had some bad moments, but overall, I think it was probably a good kid.
Okay.
Are you the only kid?
No, I'm the oldest of 3 boys.
You said something about a brother earlier.
Oh, 3 boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 boys.
Yeah.
Damn.
Y'all were just
Bless your
wild.
mom's heart.
Yeah, right.
Well, so it's funny because like I was the oldest, I was the first, and I made some mistakes, but like nothing really major. My youngest brother was the hooligan. He was the one who got did all the crazy shit.
Yes.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. But no, so I would say my one story, and I think they might know about this. Maybe they don't. Looking back now, I'd smack the shit out of myself if I saw my. But anyway,
I love the ones that they don't know.
Yeah. So I was staying the night at a buddy's house, and we snuck out at his bedroom window. A friend picked us up in his, and I'm remembering this correctly. He picked us up in his wife's car, but she was staying at her parents' house, so he stole the car.
Okay.
He pushed it. He pushed it down the street, started up so he wouldn't be too loud.
That's the best way to do it. You can't crank it right there in the door.
He comes and picks us up. We drive across town. I don't know where we went to his girlfriend. Like, so my friend that I'm staying with, his girlfriend's house, and we're like hanging out, and then they're doing whatever. We're hanging out outside. We're just BSing. It's getting late. We got to go. We get a flat tire on this car that we borrowed. And so we get to the gas station. He tries to put in some of that fix-a-flat stuff, and it's not working. It's not linear. Whatever the flat is, it's ruined, right? So he gets the brilliant idea. Let's go find a tire.
Oh,
he pulls out the jack. He pulls out his tire iron. We hop a fence, and we start going through a neighborhood looking for a tire that's roughly the same size.
Leaving a car.
No.
You did not leave a car on a block.
This
This night turned into Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
So I'm watching. I didn't touch anything, but I'm an accomplice. I'm sitting here watching like this whole time. It's like 2 a.m. They jack the tire up. They pull the tire off. They put a cinder block. It happens to be a cinder block sitting right there. They were
asking for it. That car was asking for it. Yeah.
And so we take that tire. We back to the gas station. We put it all in. We're getting home. The sun's starting to come up. We jump back in the window. We're laughing. We're like, oh, I can't believe they did that. And we go to bed. Next morning, a couple hours later, whatever it is, I'm up. We're talking. We're eating breakfast. His mom at some point. Oh, no. So we went to the friend's house, knocked on the window. We were hanging out. We were talking to somebody through their window before we got in the car and left. Mm-hmm. Their mom came in while we were sitting at the window, saw us. His mom called my friend Brian's mom, and told him that they were out and that it was like midnight. And
Busted.
so we wake up in the morning, and his mom's just like, I can't believe you guys snuck out. I can't, like, you guys got hurt and got in trouble, and
so she didn't wait up for you. She wasn't like waiting for you when you got there. No, okay.
No, I mean, she probably checked on us and realized we were gone. We're like, well, I'm going back to bed. Like,
See, mine was up with the shotgun.
Yeah, and so she looks at me and she goes, "Are you going to tell your dad? Are you going to tell your parents that you did this? Like, not knowing about anything about the car, just the fact that we snuck out."
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, like, I'll tell my parents, and I'll have them call you and verify. And I told my dad. My dad was just kind of like, "Did you do anything? You could do anything bad?" And I was like, "No,
no way."
Snuck out. He's like, "Okay, well, probably shouldn't do that when you're staying at friends' houses." I'm like, "Yeah, I won't do that again, Dad."
Got away scot-free.
I love it. That's a good one.
I honestly wish, to this day, I wish I was sitting there across the street. And I feel horrible about saying this. Like, this version of me would never do that. I would actually go knock on the door and like hand money to the good person. I'm really sorry, but I wish I was there to see them. Wish I was there to see somebody back up. Because it was the
passenger.
I can't even see it. Just going to work, and then
they
boom.
put it in reverse and just like, well, boom. And they're like, my tire just blew off the freaking rack. Like, just
I
disappeared.
wish I was there to see the falling.
Oh my God.
I laugh like I said that immediately, but I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Because I'm that guy
That
now
is
that when I
horrible.
insult, when I like razz a friend or I rip on a friend of mine, I'm the guy that will make the insult but immediately apologize. Like, I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean
Yeah,
that. Like,
yeah.
that's who I am
I'm just
now.
kidding,
So
yeah. Oh,
It's never crossed my mind. Like when I've had a flat tire, like when we stole grandmother's car
Right.
and I busted the tire, I just drove it back on the hubcap. Like, you know,
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
think about.
just damaged it even more. A couple $1,000 worth of damage.
I didn't think about going to get a new tire.
I gotta tell this story just because I hadn't yet, and I've been meaning to. I keep forgetting, but it's gonna make your story look better. So if your mom's listening, hey, you know it could be worse. Okay, I was in Tennessee. I was in Nashville for Corey's hockey tournament, and we were at the hotel pool. You know, before we had to go somewhere, and there was this guy in the pool, and he started talking to us, and I was telling him about the podcast and the Don't Tell Mom, and he just thought that was so funny. And he was like, he was a recovering addict. He was a vet. He had been sober 20 years. You know, like he had this great story or whatever, and was real talkative. And so it was cool to hear a story. And I said, well, what's your best Don't Tell Mom story? And he was like, oh, I got a Whopper. And I said, what? Okay, all right. So, and I've heard a lot. And he goes, I was in high school, and I stole a car. My parents were out of town. I stole the car. I crashed it, went home, got the other car, took that one out, crashed that one too.
Oh my God.
Okay, 2 cars. That's not even it. The same week, the exact same week, he found out his girlfriend was pregnant. He's in high school. And
Jesus.
so he found out his girlfriend's pregnant. And the guy's totally serious. I don't think he made this up. How can you make this up? He said a couple days later he found out that his other girlfriend was pregnant too.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, what? Oh my
Crashed 2
gosh.
cars
You
and
just
found out
made me
both.
feel so much better about my decision, you know, because
Lord.
like, I thought it was pretty bad. We stole the car and all that and, you know, took it down the street to crank it, you know.
You should have been recording that. That was good.
It was
Oh
good.
my gosh.
Dude, thank you so much. That's an awesome story. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And
What 20 platforms can everybody find you on?
Yeah, tell us.
Like you've got everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm Clintus. So Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. It's Clintus. I'm early adopter, so I got my name locked on everything pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
It's so
It
nice
was
to
amazing.
meet you. Yeah, it's so nice to meet you, and good luck with all of your with everything you got your hand in, and I'll definitely be watching.
And if y'all aren't watching on YouTube, he is wearing a Goonie shirt, so that makes him even
I
that
know,
much more
right?
cooler.
I said we should have been
Never
in front of the
say
Goonies
die.
poster. We're doing this. Thank you so much for coming. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for listening, for watching, if you're watching, and definitely go check out the merch and the merch store and all that stuff, and follow us on our other. Yeah, Cullen's got this. We got 1,000 of those.
I'm gonna pick Clintus's brain
a little more
throughout the upcoming weeks. Get this setup going good. But
Yeah.
thanks again, man, for everything and for being willing and able to jump on and
Anytime.
Yeah. Hopefully we got this remote thing worked out.
come
this
back to
time.
Alabama. He was in Alabama recently. That's
Yeah,
why
come
he
for
got
a
me.
game.
Oh yeah, you
Come
need
for
to
a
come
football
to
game.
football game, college football.
Heck yeah. All right, thanks
Go
y'all
get
so
your
much
stream
for
on, man.
listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Peace.